Hey everybody, this is Rybo coming at you actually today from the butcher block in the kitchen. A little warm outside today, and figured I would sit down and do this cleaning video inside. So today I am bringing a video showing the disassembly and cleaning of a Kershaw Skyline pocket knife. I noticed on YouTube that there were not many videos about how to disassemble the Skyline, which I thought was a shame because the Skyline's one of my favorite knives. I know it's really popular and it's really easy to take apart, and just generally good for the knife. So thought I would show what I'm doing. I needed to clean my knife anyway. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. So before we get started, let's remove this. Let's just talk about a couple things that you'll need for cleaning your knife. So the first is, and if I pull this back, the first is I would use some kind of mat. You can see I'm actually in the kitchen, so I'm on the table. So besides the fact that my wife's probably not going to be happy if I get oil and stuff all over the counter, when you are disassembling knives like this, you're going to have a tendency to drop screws like this. And in the kitchen or somewhere like that, it's probably not as big a deal. But if I were to drop something like that in my workshop, either on the bench or on the ground, I'm never going to find it again. So if you get something a little bit grippy, even the back of this leather is probably even a little bit better to use. Or something with a contrasting color. So this leather might not be the best example of that, but just something that'll allow you to kind of keep everything contained on this mat. The other thing is if you spill, oil or whatever on this, it's not really a big deal. So obviously you'll need your knife. So today we're doing the Skyline. You'll need some kind of lubricant, oil, and cleaner. A lot of people use nano oil or something like that, WD-40. Some people even use mineral oil. Mineral oil is going to be a little bit thicker, probably not going to do a lot for the action of your knife, but I mean I use it to sharpen my knives. I use CLP. This is a gun lubricant, but just a general all-purpose cleaning out crud. It's an active oil, so when you spray it on there, it's kind of actively working at eating away that dirt and that buildup, as well as lubricating. And I think it does a really nice job of lubricating. Really gets into the pivot and really smooth, makes things a lot smoother. We use this around the house even for all kinds of different stuff. I'm just a really big fan of CLP, but it's not the best stuff, but it's it's pretty inexpensive, so I really like it. The next thing you'll need are your Torx screwdrivers. So you can use any kind of Torx screwdriver. These are my favorite. Now they're a little bit more expensive, but this is kind of one of those buy it once, buy it right, because a lot of the times with your Torx screwdrivers, the actual Torx bit here has a tendency to strip out very easily. And these Wera tools, they're a German company, although this one actually says it's a German company, but it actually says it's made in the Czech Republic. These are just so high quality. I don't know if it's carbide tip or whatever, but these are just held up super well. They're very ergonomic, and really I only have two of them because this is a T9 and a T6, which are the most common pocket knife sizes. And so I got two of them, paid a little bit more. I mean, it's really not that much more. I think maybe the T6 was like 10 bucks, 15 bucks, something like that. I actually found a really good deal on this on Amazon and got it for like 3 or 4 bucks. And so I just wanted those two rather than buy a full set, but they're just very high quality tools, and I'm a big fan. But anyway, for the Kershaw Skyline, you'll need a T6 for the frame pins and the pocket clip, and a T9 for the pivot Torx. Besides that, the last thing you'll need is just something to wipe down your knife with. Now, I'm using these kind of gun swabs, cleaning swabs, whatever. I'm only using these because someone gave them to me. I tend to cut up old t-shirts, old pillowcases, whatever, and use that because, I think that's just as good. I'm not really going to pay for something like this, but since someone gave them to me, they're convenient. I'll use those. If you, you can even use a paper towel. If you do use a paper towel, I would use something more like a Viva, kind of a softer towel than something that's, just a little bit more abrasive. But I mean, really, it doesn't really matter at all. All right, so you'll notice I've already pulled off the pocket clip. That's because I've been wanting to reverse the orientation of this, and so I just saved some time and went ahead and did that before the video. So the pocket clip comes standard this way. You can actually see where it was glued in there. The screws were glued in there, but I don't think it was Loctite because it was really easy to come out, and there was no issue there. So I'm actually going to reverse it just so that I can carry this tip up and kind of see how that goes. I like carrying tip up on other knives, but I've never done it with a flipper like this, so I'm going to give it a try. So this is your Kershaw Skyline. One note, and I guess I'll go ahead and get started, and I can talk while I'm doing this, but the first thing you're going to do is close the knife and start on these pins. The pins are only accessible from one side, the side right here. The back here is more just like a threaded insert, so when you unscrew the pin or this screw here, the screw's not going to pop out. You're just going to try to get it to come out completely from that threaded insert, and then you'll be able to just pull the frame off once you get the pivot undone. One note, just one thing a lot of people complain about the Skyline. Like I said, it's one of my favorites, but I totally understand the complaints about the flipper action. Anytime you're having an issue with a knife like that where the action's not great or, whatever, one of the best things you can do besides just, oiling the pivot up is just disassemble the knife. Now I'm going to hit the pivot screw here, and this is with the T9. The pivot screw is pretty short, and it'll come all the way out. Yeah, so I mean, just take the knife apart. A lot of times that solves a lot of your issues. I've noticed that anytime I'm having some issues like that, if I take the knife apart, clean it out, put it back together, it gives me a chance to kind of loosen or tighten things as I want. And I've noticed with this knife particularly, taking it apart, cleaning it, putting it back together, the action was just so much better than it came from the factory. So always a good thing to do before you really announce hatred for a knife. All right, so with those popped out and the pivot screw, you can see the knife is kind of falling apart. So you can pop this guy up. There's a plastic liner in here, and I may be taking this liner out. On a lot of knives, you can take that out to get more of a skeletonized look. This knife doesn't have spacers around around those screws, so I may end up just leaving that. But if you look at something like the Rat 2 here, you can see that those have spacers that are actually like protecting the knife. I'm sorry, protecting the screws. All right, so next up you see your brass washer here, bronze washer, your blade, and you can just pull that blade right off of the little threaded insert. Be careful, obviously it is sharp. So you have your blade here. Then you have your next bronze washer. You can kind of dump that out, put that over there. And then you have your frame, kind of I guess the liner lock, not the frame lock, that you can pop out. Remember, the Skyline only has one liner, not two. The other liner is just the frame of the other side. And this fits pretty tight, so you might have to work on that a little bit. And then you have the threaded insert that the pivot screw goes into. This does not come out naturally. I think it's actually glued in there. Not sure if you can get it out. I would not recommend it. You can see it's not a circle, it's kind of a hex. And that's for a reason. That's because when you're unscrewing the pivot on the other side, this would have a tendency to naturally turn. You can see something like the Rat 2 is a circle there. That's going to have a tendency to turn if it's not locked in there. I've had a really tough time on my Kershaw Emerson CQC-K blades. They can be very difficult to undo because that thing just spins freely. So Kershaw has used a non-circle head there, and I think even put some glue. So I'm not even going to mess with that. The one good thing this can help you with is to remember that the side with this threaded insert is the side that you will reattach or reinsert your liner into. So I'm going to put both of the G10 scales aside, and we'll focus on all the metal stuff first. So what I like to do, especially with CLP, is just spray just a little bit on there, kind of work it around on both sides, and just kind of get that, worked around there. You can be as generous as you want to be with this. And then I like to just kind of leave this aside just for a second to kind of remember CLP is an active oil, so it's going to be kind of working on that grit and stuff while you're sitting here. So I kind of like to just dab that around a little bit, maybe kind of rub it across the whole side here, and always get a little bit too much, but that's all right. And actually this step is probably best done just with your hands, just because sometimes those rags can just soak in too much. Same with the blade here. I'm just kind of working in some oil, kind of let it set up there for a few minutes. And then same with the two little brass washers. I'm just gonna kind of put some oil on those and put those aside as well. All right, so we've got that stuff cleaning. Next up with this, I just usually give this a dab or two of oil just in the G10 here. Since this is going to be in contact with the metal, but also because the G10 is going to soak up some oil as well. So kind of clean that out around there. Tends to kind of get some crud developed kind of wherever those washers are. Put a little bit there and just kind of give that a wipe down. You can see that there's some kind of shiny stuff here. That appears to just be where Kershaw applies some kind of a glue to those threaded inserts there, and that's fine. And then next up, sometimes I don't want to spray a ton down in this thing, but sometimes I will just kind of get a dab down in the bottom of this thing, but that's not really necessary. All right, let's get this other scale. Just give it a quick wipe down, kind of clean it up a little bit. Again, you can take off this little thing if you want to. I'm just going to leave mine on for today. You can actually see some kind of, let me see if I can get that in focus. You can see some kind of glue on those screws right there. Seems to want to focus on back there. But you can kind of see some glue or something right on there. But anyway, for me, that's good enough. I mean, those are plenty clean enough. Like I said, I'm reversing the pocket clip, so I'm just gonna just add a little bit of oil in there, kind of just clean that up. I do like the pocket clip on this Kershaw Skyline. I think it's pretty nice for what it is, although I do wish it was quite a bit deeper than it is. All right, so gonna grab my brass washers now, and just give these a little bit more oil. You can see, well, I'll show you on the next one. You can see really here the benefit of that CLP. So while we've been talking and cleaning up those scales, that stuff has really been working, and that right there is just staining on the brass, and it's not actually and there's no kind of crud built up there anymore. That's just some stains. But I don't know if you remember what this looked like when we started, but the CLP just is fantastic of just sitting there working to get that crud kind of eaten away, and kind of clean that while you're working on other stuff. And that's what I really like about this thing. So that's good. Nice and shiny washer. And then again, to highlight, so come back to your knife, and that's what it looks like. And you can rewind the video to see what that looked like before we started, but it was pretty cruddy. And now, basically the only thing that's on here is the wear on this kind of satin. It's not stone washed, but on this you know, on this metal here. I mean, that's literally scratches. There's no crud on there, and there definitely was when we started the video, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to swap out for a new one of these little rags, just because for this guy at least we're kind of getting past the point of wiping crud away, and we're more focused on just moving that oil around. You can look in this right here, and that has a tendency to have some buildup. So I'm just kind of getting my fingernail in there and cleaning that out pretty good. So that looks great. And then again here, so we got a little bit more here, but see a couple wipes and not too bad. It looks like maybe some scratches, maybe a little bit of staining on there. If you can see that, let me see if I can get that in better focus. Yeah, so not too bad. Other side, you can see a little bit more of that staining. Again, there's actually nothing that's, you know, that you can feel on there. It's not like it's built up dirt, but it appears to just be kind of the metal has stained a little bit. Not rust really, but anyway, so that to me looks pretty good because I've gotten all the kind of grime wiped away, and so as soon as I'm happy with that, we can start the reassembly. But to me that looks pretty good, and you'll notice that that's still pretty wet, but that's totally fine with me. You know, I'm happy with that. So we've been through two of these just to show you, you know, we've got, you know, decent amount of dirt. This knife wasn't super dirty, but that stuff is eating it up. So I'll just kind of dry these off real quick, just a kind of a quick dry. I mean, it's not really going to get all the oil off of there, but just to make it so it's not like dripping wet, you know, when you reassemble. All right, and now we can reassemble. So remember, when you grab your scales here, you want the one that has the threaded insert that you can then reattach your liner to, and we just want to push that all the way down, and then you'll have a brass washer. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 real pieces, which is just phenomenal. You'll put your blade right back on there, and this is the part where you're just going to have to use, my bad here, where you're just going to have to use some kind of force. So remember, this can be really easy. The knife's going to look like that, so obviously your blade's going to be you know, edge up, and then you'll have another bronze washer on top of that, and then you're ready for your scale here. So you're just gonna have to put some pressure on this, obviously, to kind of keep things locked down. I've already messed mine up because that liner lock is gonna have a tendency to want to bend against you, but there you go. And I start back with the pivot, basically just because that's the easiest one to just kind of throw in there and just tighten down. I don't tighten this one down all the way, just tighten it down a little bit just to hold things together. Come back to these guys here and tighten these down. You'll know everything's lined up correctly, obviously, because these are going into threaded inserts. And that's what I love about this knife. It's 3 screws. They're very minimal, very few pieces. All right, so now you have it completely reassembled. Now it's just left the pivot screw. And you can check the centering on this. That can help you. What I tend to do is just kind of tighten it down, and I'll loosen it up if it needs to be. And it probably will. But you can check that with the action. Like right there, that action's not very good. This knife's a little too tight, so I'll just kind of back that out a little bit. And it might be still a little bit too tight. It's kind of hard to do this off camera, but you know, it's getting there. So you kind of just have to play with that. You can continue to kind of check the pivot here, but that's starting to sound pretty good. And so that's really it. I mean, I'm gonna throw this pocket clip back on here real quick. So remember, before I had it here, I'm gonna just throw it in here real quick, just to kind of try something new. Remember, this is a T6. So let me get this lined up. Put this back. Let's see here. Let's drop these in first. Can make you kind of infuriated when you're working with these little tiny screws and you can't get a good grip. But I'm just going to pre-thread these through the clip here and then drop this in. You can see that CLP was working to break up that carbon I didn't even realize was on the, I guess not carbon, but that crud that was kind of built up even under the pocket clip. But those are just tightened down, and that's it. So there it is. That's super simple. I know this video is kind of long, but I took my time. This is a really simple one to do. What I would recommend after, I got some little pieces of my cleaning cloth. I usually will open my knife just like this. You know, generally speaking, I'll do this occasionally, is just put a kind of a dot or two of oil right down there, and then just work that frame, work that lock a little bit, let that pivot run. You'll probably come back in a little bit and this thing will be bleeding oil. Just wipe that off. But that'll really work to just get in there. You want to just make sure everything's nice and lubed up. And you can see it's already kind of starting to drip there, but that's totally fine. And then that'll just really smoothen out this knife, make sure everything's nice and oiled up. And that's it. So this knife is now clean. It's really easy to do. It's good for the knife, and hopefully this video was helpful to you. So if it was, thank you, like the channel, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.